So, welcome to the latest episode of the I Heart Guitar podcast, and my guest is...
Nili Brosh. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been listening to the track you've released from the record and watching the video, and I'm really excited about this album. It sounds like you have a very defined concept going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it was really defined by the difficulty of dealing with songs in different genres and figuring out how they possibly could belong on one record. So hopefully this would be the common theme.
Yeah. So you're taking us basically on a whole journey throughout the record from different styles. Where does it start? Where does it end?
So it kind of starts with like a Spanish nylon string vibe and ends in like a metal pop EDM kind of world.
Cool.
Yeah, which is, and you know, I mean, we haven't tested it out yet, but theoretically, with the way the concept is, you should be able to listen to the record in reverse and get the same effect.
Huh. Nice.
So we'll see. Yeah.
So what drove the choice of song for the video?
Well, basically, you know, I felt like, I mean, for lack of a better term, I thought it was like the most accessible hook on the record, both the hook itself and just kind of the sonic characters in the song. And, you know, it's my third album, and it's only now that I'm making a real music video or whatever, you know, but I really wanted to wait for the right song that, you know, in my eyes kind of reflects more visual thing, doing a guitar solo on top of a mountain or, you know, something like that. So I wanted it to have a purpose and a direction and everything. So that just seemed like hopefully the right choice.
Yeah. Man, I wish I could have, like, dancers following me around all the time, just, you know, interpreting what I'm playing. That looked like fun.
Well, to be fair, you know, like, those guys, we were in the Cirque du Soleil show, Michael Jackson one, that I was in together, and so we were definitely really used to working together and doing shows and interacting all the time. So, you know, while it might seem like a bit of a new direction for me, for my fans, or to my fans, to me, it was just like, at the time, was just such a natural thing because it was just like what I was doing. So to me, it was like, well, I know that this can work and can make sense, and I want to see like how we can interpret it based on something that I wrote versus, you know, what we do every night with someone else's music.
Yeah, cool. So you are an Ibanez player through and through. I've got quite a few.
I guess that became obvious.
I've got quite a few on the rack here on the other side of the computer. But yeah, what are your main babies at the moment? So my dream Ibanez was always the Desert Sun Yellow 550, RG 550. And they were doing the Genesis collection this year. I was just like, oh my God, finally I'm going to get like, you know, my dream guitar that made me want to be an Ibanez player. And then, you know, I have my two 7 strings that are kind of like my go-to. One is a RG 2727, which I guess is a Japan only model that I managed to get my hands on, and the other is my RG 1527 with the maple neck, the white one that, you know, was discontinued, and I think like right after I got it in 2012, and it's been kind of like my workhorse for so many different things. Yeah.
And then I have, you know, my semi-hollows, you know, the art cores, and it's hard to, you know, it's hard to pick a favorite, but I feel like within the arsenal they do what I need them to do, you know.
Yeah, I'm so glad they brought back the Desert Sun Yellow and
I know.
I've got one of the Road Flare Red 20th anniversaries, and I was comparing it to the Genesis, and I was like, apart from the backplate, I can't tell these apart. Like,
I know,
it so
and
well.
they really. You know, and I hadn't seen one, like, in so many... I don't think I'd ever seen a new one before because, you know, growing up in Israel, like, all the few friends that I knew that were into, like, the shred music, or so to speak, when I was there, like, you know, you could really only get them from eBay and all these kinds of things. So I never saw, like, a brand new, shiny, dingless one until I went to pick up my own. And that's why when I opened the case, I was like, oh, my God, it's so yellow, because I literally, like... didn't remember just how perfectly neon it is.
Yeah,
know?
And cameras can't capture that stuff. And then once you see it in the flesh,
can't.
wow.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if it only came out this year or if it's still, a few years old but pretty recent, but there's the yellow Ibanez 7-string with the maple neck at the moment.
I saw that too. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Cool. And I've been seeing them all over Instagram. People are getting them and putting in like neon pickups and controls and stuff, and it's like that's pretty cool.
I know. It's hard to hate on that.
So, what was it about Ibanez that hooked you? I know for me, I was Steve Vai and Satriani nerd from a young age, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely the players and just how conducive it is to, whatever style of music you want to call it. But, Andy Timmons was always like my favorite player, and I've always loved his Ibanez, to me, like that Ibanez Strat, that's so perfect to him and everything. Like, first of all, I mean, it showed me what else it can be, but just having started playing that kind of thing, and especially when I had to take up the 7-strings for Tony MacAlpine, it was like really the only brand that even made sense for my hands, just the way the neck is, you know what I mean? So just in every reason it ended up being, whether it's the sound or the playability or, the genre or the coolness of the brand and just liking the guitars, it always seemed like kind of a natural pathway for me, I guess.
Yeah. What are you using in terms of pickups?
So right now I have stock pickups in the 550 that are going to be replaced by a passive EMG set that we haven't totally decided on. Mm-hmm. They will be neon yellow though. Yeah. I have 5766's EMGs in both of my main 7 strings, mm-hmm. Which were kind of like, shown to me as almost like the active set for the passive player, so to speak, so they were a easy transition for me and added a lot of like kind of creaminess and fluidity and all that type of stuff. So, but as far as the 550 goes, I do still like passive pickups and the dynamic range that it tends to give you sometimes, so I want to have at least one guitar that has that, for different things. And I think for my playing and what I've written on this record, it makes more sense to have it on one of the 6s that I use primarily.
Yeah. One thing that really strikes me about your playing is that your phrasing is so expressive and considered.
Thank you so much for that.
Because you can hear when all they're doing is just pressing the string down and hitting a note, and it's not the same as when someone's really getting in there and, playing with the beginning, middle, and end of each note,
Well, thank you. That's the nicest thing that you can say to me, because I do think that we run into issues with phrasing as guitar players because we don't have to breathe, you know what I mean? Nobody forced us to learn whatever proper phrasing is because, we can play on forever. Nothing is going to make us pass out if we don't stop playing, like a vocalist would. So I really did try to think from that perspective as much as I can, even if it's a nutty thing, even if it's a solo or whatever, it's to me, it's just like punctuating a sentence. It's like you can have a paragraph with a bunch of run-on sentences and everything, and the ideas will all be there, but it'll be much harder for the reader to pick those ideas out if there isn't proper punctuation. So to me, it's like I want to approach that the same way, like I know what I want to say, but I want to make sure that it's conveyed also and not hide it, if I can. So.
That's funny. Eddie Van Halen once said that the reason he started using a whammy bar is because without it, it was just that string of notes. And so he needed it every now and then to just grab it and go like, wee, 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 to kind of break up the...
That's actually that's really cool. I never thought of it like that, but that does make sense, for the way that he plays. And that's a very creative... I mean, that's the thing about Eddie, right? Like everything that he did, for whatever reason he did it, was just so creative that you wouldn't have thought of it. So I wouldn't have thought of using the whammy bar for that purpose.
Yeah. So I always hate asking the influence question because I think influences are a different thing to inspirations. And like some of the guitarists that inspired me to play have nothing to do with the way I ultimately play. So are there players for you where you don't play like them at all, and it might surprise people who they are, but, you have those kind of, I mean, for me, Robert Smith is a big one, but I don't play Robert Smith, but I don't play anything like him. I'm a shred dude.
Wes Montgomery would be a good one. other jazz guys that aren't guitar players, like Charles Mingus or Thelonious Monk, you know, some of like the weirder, so to speak, dudes. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like every other name that I'm going to say is just going to become obvious. You know what I mean? But, like Steve Stevens, for example, like was someone who like, I love how different his solo stuff is. And I think that has influenced me in my new record, you know, like that. I think some people might draw an connection to that. And that's might be where some of the nylon string came from, for me. But just in general, like, I don't know, like, you know, like people hear things in your playing that you don't. Like, I feel like people always compare you to whoever they think you sound like. And like, to me, I might be like, oh, well, I never would have thought of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, whatever names might be like, seem like a quicker connection to other people. But
it's funny. For a little while there, everyone was telling me, they were like, you know, oh, I can tell you're into your Demiola. And I'm like, no, actually.
Right. I get that. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. And you know, he is a good example. As someone that like I listened to, and I, you know, went to see him live, and I, you know, just took that information in like a lot of other guitar players, but I don't know that it necessarily came from there, you know.
Yeah. So what are you using in terms of amplification on the record?
So I mainly use my PV-JSX with an Ignator Tourmaster 2x12. That's my main rig. I pretty much always have the EP booster by Exotic Effects in the front, kind of like as an always-on tone improver, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the bulk of the record was recorded on that, you know, some other Headrush additions and stuff like that. But I'm pretty simple when it comes to rigs. Like I'm very much of like the if it ain't broke, don't fix it persuasion. I don't know if it's just because I'm less of a gear nerd than a lot of other people are, but I just, once I find something that works for me, I do kind of want to consider it my voice and then just kind of use that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I use this Marshall that's behind me, is like I know exactly what it's going to do. It doesn't put too much of its own voice on what I'm playing. It just forces you to, you know, but there's nowhere to hide either, so it kind of forces you to really play, you know. And those JSX amps are incredible. Like they really
are. They're kind of underrated sometimes.
Yeah. Well, like it's got like an active EQ, doesn't it? So you can... I think there's something interesting. I think there's something interesting going on in the EQ stack, but I could be confusing it with something else.
Yeah, maybe. It's pretty. The only thing that like that amp I feel like doesn't have is I wish it had a reverb knob. Like that's the only thing. But it's just, you know, with certain miking and certain things, you know, like just it was just as far as 3-channel amps go. I think that like most of the great brands like all have a great solution for that. You know, everybody's making like great high-end products when you're looking for anything, but it was just one of the ones that I heard and liked the colors of and felt like I could dial into something that works for me better than certain other things. So I've been with it for like a decade, you know?
Yeah. So, Matt, so you're playing you're playing with Death Clock soon. That's going to be incredible.
It's funny, just as you were, right before you called me, I was like loading songs into the playlist, being like, okay, now I got to start really shedding and listening to this stuff.
Yeah. So
I still can't believe it's really happening. But
I interviewed Brendan recently for StarWars.com about what a Star Wars nerd he is and how it's influenced his Galacticon stuff and Metalocalypse. Yeah. So what are your kind of expectations of that gig?
I have none other than just to have a lot of fun, you know. To me, it's like it's a really special thing, not just because, you know, that this is I've known Brendan for a while, and the whole camp has kind of been my family for a long time, you know, kind of by proxy, but just as someone who went to Berkeley, and I went to Berkeley right when Metalocalypse was airing and was like really big. So you couldn't be a metal kid at Berkeley without loving Metalocalypse. It just wasn't a thing, you know? So just from that point, it's something that's very close to my heart. And so because it's a one-time thing, I just
looking more to cherish it than anything else. So I'm not putting expectations or anything. I'm just really excited to play with the guys and enjoy that.
So in terms of once your record comes out, I know you do a lot of clinics and stuff. Are you going to be doing band shows, in support of this record?
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, we just announced a bunch of shows that I'm doing with Jennifer Batten and Gretchen Menn as like a triple bill with like a jam at the end and stuff. So, and we're hoping, we're just trying it out, seeing, how we like playing together kind of thing. But, I think we're all kind of into it and hopefully it'll turn into something more. But those two things are kind of on the horizon for me right now.
Yeah. Gretchen's on the record, yeah?
Yes, she's actually on one of the nylon string kind of part Middle Eastern, part flamenco influenced song called Andalusian Fantasy.
Cool. She's one of those people who everyone loves her. Everyone who's ever met her just loves her.
I know. And she's so like humble. Like, you'll say something like that to her, and she'll be like, "Oh, you're so silly. You're the sweetest ever." And I'm just like, come on, take credit for something. Like, I'm just giving you a compliment. But she really is like that, and it's true, And, she's truly, like, one of my closest friends in the world, and we have been for a long time now. And I always tell people that, like, Gretchen's, like, really kind of helped me grow up in a way, And, again, it's, like, another thing that she'll never take credit for, but very positive influence in my life.
Yeah, cool. So can we expect you in Australia anytime soon?
I hope so. Like I'm hoping to come out there for some clinics. It's been kind of a puzzle to figure it out, but I'm working on it. I don't know if you know this or the listeners or anything, but like Australia specifically has been at the top of my list of places that I really want to go to for a long time. I even have family there, and I've just always been fascinated by that place, mostly because when I grew up in Israel, it was like, oh my God, it takes, like, you have to fly for 24 hours to get there, and I was just like, well, guess that's off my list, But living on the West Coast, it's quite doable, and I've done long flights before, so no, looking at it from not the kid lens, I just want to go there so bad. So hopefully we'll make that work.
Yeah, cool. Well, that ought to do it. That's all my questions and stuff. So thanks so much for your time. This has been really fun. I'm glad we could finally get a chance to chat.
Yeah, I'm always down, whenever you want to do anything, and thank you. It's cool. And you made it really easy. So.
Yeah, cool. No problem. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and we'll talk soon.
Cheers. See ya.